do you handle the threat of rape? No, how do you handle it? Have you ever been threatened with rape? Now, the answers to these questions depend a lot on gender, and perhaps it's predictable that more women than men have been threatened with rape. But what's unusual is that popular wisdom suggests that they behave differently when it happens. Now, as a girl, I learned that in an attack, it's better, less dangerous, more expedient to simply allow the rape to happen if there's really no way out, through talking or running or crying or screaming or simply saying no. As a girl, I learned this because apparently girls had cause to learn of such things as how to handle the threat of rape. I learned that I was likely to sustain less damage if I simply allowed the assault and then worked out the consequences later. One Texas politician in his 1990 bid for governor even suggested that rape is sometimes like the weather. He said, as long as it's inevitable, you might as well lie back and enjoy it. So I learned not to fight that which I did not want. And I've known women who take that advice one step further. That is to say, in order to save face, in order to avoid shame or blame, in order to not admit later that something was done to you against your will. You could even pretend that it was okay. Uncomfortable, painful perhaps. It's easier to remain friends with the rapist, to not cause a fuss. And how often does one prosecute the weather for its offenses anyway? So here's the incongruity I invite you to ponder. Boys are not often taught what to do when threatened with rape, which is itself incongruous since boys can be and are raped. But for those who counsel men in prison, this topic does emerge. And let's be clear that in prison, the rapist almost always succeeds. There's almost never any way out through talking, or crying, or running, or screaming, or just saying no. And yet, more often, men are urged to fight because some part of you dies inside if you don't. So, does this imply that the part that can fight and assert a will is a part that a man needs, but a woman doesn't? Or that woman's appearance should be preserved, not sullied by the broken nose, the bloodied lip, the blackened eye, that will prove that something of consequence has occurred? Man should fight. And while the attacker is sometimes fueled by the fight, he may not be turned on by the corresponding sense of power that the fight engenders. The attacker may want blood and pain and, of course, dominion. But the next time through, there might be a more satisfying fear in the eyes of someone newer, more scared, less accustomed to fighting back. Rape is not sex, after all. It's violence, a show of dominance, regardless of how much force is required to commit the crime. So if the threat of violence were only to occur once in the course of one's lifetime, then indeed the better choice might be to play dead, submit, and emerge to live intact another day. But if the threat of violence were to occur again and again, as it does for those groups whom we educate about its dangers, men in prison, women everywhere, then perhaps the longer run strategy is to make sure you preserve a sense of self and that the act doesn't go unnoticed like some clouds floating through the darkening sky. Perhaps the longer run strategy is to remember that rape doesn't just happen. People commit horrendous acts. Sometimes in response to what they perceive to be normal, invited, or necessary to their roles. So how do you handle the threat of rape? When it happens to you? When you see it happening to someone else? When you feel it rising up in yourself and there's no clear yes, but no immediate no coming your way either? How do you handle the threat of rape? As though it's a force of nature? Or something we could work together to fight against? Conversation with you, but first we'd like to take just a minute or two of silence, and if you feel moved to do so, please get up and pick up a tool and add something to the work that Kate has begun here. It could be image or words, as you choose, and then after those few minutes of silence we'll have a conversation if you'd like to.